Welcome back to the Lucky Orange Show, where it's my job to close the gap between knowing about a business topic and being able to do something with it in the real world. On today's episode, I'm speaking with Daniel Gross, the CEO of 121ecommerce. In our conversation, we talked about the future of e-commerce site search, common issues that he sees with e-commerce navigation setups, and the role that Lucky Orange plays in their testing and optimization process with clients. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, the alert notification, whatever you got to do. Stay up to date with the latest from the Lucky Orange Show and Lucky Orange in general. If you're ready, let's go chat with Daniel. What role do you think the tools and technology in your workflows play in your ability to find successful outcomes for clients?
So for us, we're an e-commerce development agency servicing, many different platforms. All our tools are designed and intended to, at the end of the day, what we want to convey to our customers is that their website is a store. And the people that are clicking around their websites are not just, a mouse going across the screen, but there's actually a person on the other side. And the idea of the tools is to kind of connect you to that person on the other side and figure out how to service them better. I tell my clients kind of, as interesting as it sounds, try to, when a person lands on your site, they're walking into your store. How would you want to be treated, or your target customer, how would they want to be treated? And those tools should help you, kind of bridge that gap.
So there's obviously a lot of, consumer psychology at play there. You're talking about a real person coming to a real store. A lot of through lines with the brick and mortar shopping experience can be carried to e-commerce. What sort of, when you guys talk internally and when you're working with new clients, how do you get them to shift that mindset away from, man, we really just want to crunch numbers and look at spreadsheets, to these are real people with real needs, anxieties, wants, whatever? How do you help the team at 121 e-commerce understand what you've just said there?
Just as simple as that, really explaining that to them again and again. And again, we use different tools that help us. We see how customers are acting. I'm not a big guy into, again, let's go back into the brick and mortar store analogy. If you bring in somebody to help you with your brick and mortar store to increase sales, and they come in and say, you got to redo everything from A to Z, that's a hard investment to make, and a hard thing to swallow. But a lot of times you'll find in the e-commerce world or in the website world, you need a whole new redesign. You need a change of platforms, and there's a lot of different things that are being pitched, and they're not really based on data. And again, if you put yourself in your physical store, you definitely would say no to that. But some people feel like, oh, it's just a magical solution. My site's going to look cool and just going to buy. What I believe is that taking a look at the data, using the tools that you have, just because you have a development agency, or just because we're a development agency and we're an e-commerce agency that is focusing on CRO, doesn't mean that every time I speak to you, I'm trying to convince you to spend more time with me and spend more hours with our developers. Sometimes it's these little small iterative changes to figure out what's going on. So, for example, one of our clients, I just watched their search terms because they changed their SKUs. They changed how they handle their SKUs internally, and some of their older customers aren't aware of that, and they're still looking for older SKUs. So take a look at that. Make sure you set it up, set up the redirect correctly, and then something like that is a few minutes of work, right? It's not development, but it really just, our goal is that for the customers to feel that we're there to help them. And again, that's a small change. So if somebody comes into your physical store and they say, maybe you should change the positioning of this, you should, put this promotion over here and this coupon over here. There's small little changes. Those are the type of things that you could, sorry, did I go out for a second?
Just a second there. But
I
you can
apologize.
keep rolling.
So
yes, I can.
No worries. So
you're good.
Those small changes, also, if you make a whole huge change, you're not sure what caused the up and down and what is the result? What drove the result? Was it the page speed? Was it the changing of your main menu? Was it, the promotions? You have no idea because you did 30 things at once. But if you do it small things, not expensive, just, being cognizant of your e-commerce store, you'll be able to measure your changes much better.
In a lot of CRO work, and I imagine that, on your side, it's understanding the context and having that background experience, seeing these situations play out over and over again. The reason why you're coming to an agency is that you're not able to pick up on your the SKU changes and people searching for old products and stuff like that as easily with, maybe if you're too close to the situation. Are there any other sort of trends or themes among the problems that and the issues that people are trying to solve when they come to you? Aside from maybe the obvious, we want more conversions, we want more revenue, we want to grow faster, kind of within there, are there certain areas where, you see people finding a lot of improvement with an agency that they may otherwise be struggling with on their own?
I think what an agency could really help with is being that eagle eye to look and follow up with the merchant to get them to realize that there's, that sometimes you're so stuck in your business, it's a hard time to look outside in and see how others perceive it. So we're like that fresh set of eyes that are saying, hey, let me pretend I don't know your business at all. And, from doing that, that's, something that we've built up. We give that fresh perspective, but really each site is really different. Every business is different. So there's no like one magical rule that's just going to make all conversions across all sites all over the world work. So it takes time of really getting to know your customer, getting to know your merchant. What are their goals? Like, what are their goals for the website? What do they, what are their channels that they're trying to chase after? And then what are their customers? What's their ideal customer? And are they tapping into those opportunities? So I think it's just really, really just being that consultant to them, and at the same time being that partner from within that could look from the outside in.
Right. And I know that you mentioned the iterative process and sort of ease of application and not taking on wholesale changes just for the heck of it. Are there any other factors that really go in when it comes to prioritizing ideas with a client? You may spot 3, 5, 10 different things where you say, I think we can move the needle here. But what does that process look like to say, let's take this on first, maybe even this second, third, and fourth, or let's wait and see what happens with the first change? What does the prioritization process look like when it comes to optimizing a client's website?
So I would say the one thing, when customers come to us, a lot of the websites simply, they're not secure or they're not up to date. And in truth, that's really important. But at the same time, merchants sometimes don't really, my site's been fine until now. And, no one got me till now. So let me just keep on taking that risk. And, that's how some people want to do business. And again, it's the same thing. You don't want to keep on rebuilding your physical store again and again. And some people feel like I made a website, I should just be done and walk away and come back 5 years later and have, sales booming. But it's really constantly improving the website. So to me, ensuring that the site it's ensuring that the site is built on a strong foundation, that it's secure. So, sometimes we have sites that come to us and I'm like, hey guys, you're not PCI compliant. I mean, you need to take care of that stat. And that's not going to increase your revenue, but it'll enable you to keep your doors open. So those are the first things. We take a look at what's critical. At the same time, we look at the improvements and figure out, again, it really has to be determined what's the best, what's going to be the best for them. What are they trying to convey? Sometimes, and we go through those with them and try to figure out what would be the best way. Is there a way to just simplify the user experience? We have another example is a customer that originally when they were building the site had a requirement that you needed to log in to check out. Okay, whatever, they had a reason for that, a business reason, from corporate that they needed to do that. But then that reason, went to the wayside. It wasn't needed anymore, but they still didn't allow guest checkout. I'm like, hey guys, that takes about 30 seconds to do, to allow the guest checkout. make it a smoother process for your customers. So to me, it's again, it really is trying to do what, based on the data that we find. We review their analytics, we review, like I said, we've used Lucky Orange to review their analytics, to review customer behavior. And based on data, let's make a change that we could track and see how it improves the website. Blind changes and just guesses is never good.
Yeah, absolutely. Digging in a little bit to how you're using those tools, you mentioned Lucky Orange, and obviously there's other pieces to the puzzle there. Do you find that, and I've spoken with several different agencies, and it feels like the process is different to what you're actually sharing with the client. So in your approach, are you saying, here is the actual proof that what we're saying is reality with a heat map or a session recording? Or is your team really saying, we've found this and here's the change we recommend? What role does that context from the analysis tools play when you're communicating your findings to the clients?
We're very transparent. We are teammates with them, so our clients have the same access to the Lucky Orange account that we do, and they could see what we're seeing. We want everything to be backed up by physical, real data. So just another example, it was a great example, and I was able to show it to them, is there was a, I forgot, whatever, let's just say it was apparel that customers were clicking on. And then I noticed on the apparel landing page, the number one element, according to Lucky Orange, was the same menu option, apparel. And we realized that there was a major video, that doesn't really have anything to do with the category they were trying to access. And we don't, it looks to us like customers were getting confused. Why are they coming to the page and clicking on the same thing again? So again, just made a quick change, and they see improvement from there. And I think when customers come to me, they're like, hey, we want to make changes to this page, and we're ready to spend money on it. I'm like, we're happy to do that. We're happy to up the billing, but what's the logic behind this? Is this just you guys deciding, or is it really based on data? And again, based on data is something you could track, and then you'll know if it works.
Yeah, we've talked previously here about there's the idea of customer experience gaps, and the gap being, you've kind of called a couple examples now of something where it's like, does this actually make sense for this video to be here? Does this actually make sense to force a login? But with the customer experience gap, you've got a lot of internal conversations that say, we need to do this, we need to do this, we need to do this. But it's like, did you actually research? Did you look at the data? Did you talk to customers? Did you actually base this in anything besides trying to advance some sort of internal objective or project and getting something out there? I am curious, kind of related to that, what the role of customer research and feedback plays in your process to drive home that point of, this is not only quantitative data, it's also qualitative data from things like heat maps and session recordings, but it's also qualitative data from customer feedback. Is there any surveying or any sort of conversations you have with clients to learn more about their customers?
Yes, we push our clients, to identify their customers. And again, Lucky Orange does it. They have forms, that we could give them. And I think that's very important.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's like, again, imagine it's a physical store. You want to know what people are thinking as they went in and out of your store. What stopped them? What didn't stop them? So is it easy to find the products? Is it not? Some of our customers sell very simple products, a very small catalog, and some sell very complex products. And sometimes watching the recordings, which I make a point to watch my clients' recordings once a week, just to get a big chunk of data and be able to absorb it as much as possible. Sometimes you see they're just going from one page to another page to another page. I'm not exactly sure what was going on in that person's head, but it looks like they were searching for something, they weren't finding it. So how do we make it easier for customers to find? How do we make the search better? How do we make filtering better? All that type of stuff is what we focus on. So again, trying to give them maybe even a promotion, to give them some promotion, to give us some feedback, I think is very valuable. Again, that's what I said at the beginning, really closing that gap between the mouse clicks and the fact that there's a person, trying to find something, trying to shop in your store.
Yeah, definitely. And more specifically on the menu side of things, the search side of things, that feels like that's where there's a lot of pretty potentially easy wins, but also potential to confuse the heck out of visitors. What are you seeing, maybe diving in there a little bit more? What are some recommendations you might have for maybe those stores that do have quite a few product options, product categories? Is there any sort of, and I know we're not going to hit on a magic rule of thumb here, but any kind of ideas for testing or recommendations for menu simplification, or even just within the search experience, how to deliver those search results, anything along those lines?
Again, I think it's all based on what you're trying to sell. But yeah, you're right. There is no magical rule, but really making it as simple and easy as possible for them to find what they're looking for. So sometimes it's breaking out the menu into many different categories, and sometimes it's actually trying to make it a little bit easier, making less main categories, that they had blocks on their homepage with information, different products that they were calling out. But if you scroll over it, there's no hover effect. So I noticed as I was reviewing the heat maps that nobody was clicking on that whole section. It just wasn't touched, but it was all deals. And I think there was again, it's backed by data. I'm not a prophet, but it looked to me like, hey, let's add a hover effect. Maybe people don't realize that this is a link to something. So just making sure that they could find what they're looking for easily, and that they're able to shop, and they're like guided into the next step. I would say focus less on the brand when you get onto the page, and more on the shopping when they land on your site.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think marketers love to talk about brand and prioritize messaging, and there's a tendency, it's so easy to get cute with things and try and layer in secondary messaging and all this stuff. But at the end of the day,
Right.
Of course, you have to support your product with great messaging, but the product is the first thing. Having a block on a page that's linked but not obviously linked is interesting too, because we see even the opposite is true, where people have blocks and people think that it should be linked to something, and they click over and over again and nothing happens. Logos and trust icons
Right.
and stuff, and it's you see a lot of rage clicks on top of elements that don't go anywhere, and that can be equally as frustrating for somebody.
Or for example, like
when it comes to setting,
sorry, another quick example. A lot of times, many sites that sell lots of parts and different configurations and stuff like that have what's called the year, make, model search. Now, I think it is intuitive. You should first fill out the year, then the make, then the model. But by watching recordings, sometimes, because the year, each one is narrowing it down. But sometimes I've seen that people first click on the model, and they really need to choose the year and the make first. And they're rage clicking on the model because they're not realizing that they should first click on the year. So something like that, to simplify that, and whatever it would be, either make it that the model, the make only appears after year is chosen, or just have a little bit text, choose year, choose something like that will make the experience smoother. And the smoother the experience, the less they have to think, the less they have to make decisions, and they're guided, then the better chance you have of converting them.
And navigation is almost like having a conversation with somebody and saying, what are you looking for? Okay, you're looking for boots. Great. Now, what kind of boots, or what style, or what brand? And you have to decide at what point does that question for the user make the most sense to be asking them. If there's a million different options, then maybe it's not, I'm looking for the silver version of something. Maybe there's 5 or 6 questions that happen before that, and you can help them get there with kind of the navigation funnel, almost, I guess I would say.
Right.
When it comes to setting goals for your relationships with clients, obviously you're looking to generate ROI in one way or another. Is that a part of the initial research process and conversation, is gathering benchmark data from them and saying, do you come out and say, we want to increase X metric by X percent? Or does it start off a little bit more narrative than that, and more relationship based than setting a specific, putting a specific number on the table?
We don't promise specific numbers, but what we like to do is we like to, connect to our customers, have them a little bit of a taste of, how we're experts in the field, and then and then when they feel comfortable with us to give us access to their analytics, we take a look at that and we show them, hey, here are obvious things that you can take a look at, and increase your conversion rate. If you would focus on the value based on this percentage of order value, we'll be able to eventually hit that with you. And that's part of like a roadmap that we put together with them. So, we're not promising them the world in 1 month. It could work with, their timeline, their budget, their ability to be available for us when we need to speak to them. But the real idea is, again, getting into their data, because no two people are the same. So what knocked the conversions out of the park for your last customer may not work, and very possibly will not work for your next customer. Each one takes really that fresh set of eyes that you need to look at. So that's something that we need to be cognizant of as an agency, that we need to take a look at and see where could we make improvements. Where do we see someone, why are they dropping off of checkout? Why are they dropping off at this step of the checkout? And let's make a couple small changes to help your site grow.
A lot of in-house teams, maybe at bigger companies, are attracted to and maybe called upon to improve really high-level business metrics with their website optimization. And of course, the end goal is increasing clicks on something or revenue.
Yeah.
And it's really tempting to say, oh yeah, sure, we'll increase revenue with the website. But CRO as a practice is even about so many other things, even that may not be as measurable. You better understand your customers. You have a lot of more examples of behavior around certain products. You're using surveys to say, what sort of products do you want us to offer in the future? So there's a lot more learning that can happen even beyond the metric. Obviously, as an agency, I imagine people are paying you. They want to see a measurable result of some sort. But I have to imagine, too, that it's supported and supplemented by those other learnings that you're able to provide to the clients.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, our goal is there's really, don't ever take a break from like looking at your data, looking at your site. Don't just like, okay, it's done. We don't have to, do anything. The site's going to make money for us. It's got to be someone just constantly reviewing the site, seeing if we could make any improvements, getting them, if there's a season coming up, making sure that they're prepared for that, making sure that all their processes are prepared for that. And yeah, just being that arm that really helps them be able to focus on their business while we focus on their website.
I've got to ask about AI tools. Are you seeing an increasing demand from people when you're starting a new relationship, them saying maybe specifically, how are you using AI? Or is there any kind of baked in expectation with those relationships that whatever form it might take is going to show up in their engagement with you?
It's definitely important to, use AI. I mean, it's the future, and it's also common sense. It helps out so much. And internally within our own processes, using AI for solutions or complex requirements, helps us put together a plan and formulate a plan for our customer solutions. I do think that there's going to be, an influx of AI on e-commerce sites, because besides the fact that, people are enjoying using AI, to have like a shopping assistant, Amazon just published one, and having a shopping assistant on your site, I'm interested to see how much that's going to compete with the search bar, because a search bar, is something that it's run by the e-commerce managers, and they gotta, you have to keep it possibilities that a customer could put in there, and you have to review. Whereas if you have an AI, a shopping assistant, that could really help customers. It's one of my ideas with my clients, and they have complex products. Get an AI shopping assistant, test it out, and see if they'll help your customers, guide your customers to buying those products.
Yeah, it does feel like everybody's still in much of a learning and exploration phase, which is really exciting. Even on our end, we're playing around with different ways where we'd be able to help people find insights quicker. inside Lucky Orange using AI, and the term AI, defining what that would actually mean and what role it would play. But I think that there is kind of a checkbox next to, can AI help people do stuff? And yes, sure. And so maybe now the latest iteration, of course, with natural language takes it more mainstream. I'm sure we'll see plenty of Super Bowl ads around AI tools and Microsoft Copilot coming out and stuff like that. So, it is definitely continuing to be more and more a part of day-to-day operations. Is there anything
Right.
else out there that you think people aren't paying enough attention to that is going to become a bigger deal within the next year or two within the e-commerce space?
I do think AI is going to be that's where I'm focusing on and now, and encouraging customers to work with. I'm excited to see what that's going to bring to the e-commerce world, because it's got everything really rolled up in one. It makes your shopping experience so much easier. It makes it personalized. Personalization is a big priority in 2024 for many companies. And it's a nice word to throw around, but like, what exactly does that mean? And how do you make that personalization, a reality? And AI could help with that. And just by the customer giving a little bit of some what they're looking for, that'll help, that'll help merchants collect the data that they need to maybe, create segmentation, create promo codes based on different behaviors that customers do.
Yeah, absolutely. We've already started using it as a thinking partner, asking it questions, and of course the writing side of it can be really helpful too. Before we wrap up, I'm just curious if you have any kind of broad advice for kind of any sort of upstart e-commerce teams as they start to optimize their website throughout the rest of 2024. Is there any kind of headline advice you give them as they begin experimenting and personalizing and optimizing?
I'm going to say the same thing again and again, but because and when I say it so much, it's true. It's that really connecting to that other side. People think like, oh, I'm just going to pop up a site and, pop up a site, everyone's going to come. I would say, understand who your customers are, so you spend your marketing money well. Find a platform. If you're just a startup company, find the SaaS platform that is going to be able to keep itself up to date, keep itself PCI compliant, so you could focus on growing that business and finding your target customers. That's really what you should be working on.
Cool. Well, I wanted to give you space here at the end. Is there any sort of plug for 121 e-commerce? Where can people find you? Where can people learn more about your services and offerings, and kind of discover what you're up to there?
Sure, thank you. We're on social media. We're on LinkedIn. We're on Meta. You can find us there. 120ecommerce.com. And again, we're an agency that's really focused on helping our customers grow. We've serviced, really we connect well with our customers. We become teammates with them. For example, we have urgent issue processes that clients are supposed to follow. Send an email to this email address. Urgent mode, clients forget about it. What we're constantly seeing is emails coming in over the weekend. If a customer was making a quick edit to make his Monday easier, and instead he deleted a bunch of products or something, and the team jumps in on it. The team sees the email and they're jumped, because we're dedicated to the success of each one of our brands. Each client is a world within itself, within themselves, and we really do everything to show them that we are behind their success.
Awesome. Daniel, thank you so much for your time today. Everybody out there, if you're in an e-commerce platform, if you're starting to make things happen and you want to take on a relationship with an agency, can't recommend Daniel and the team anymore. So thanks for your time today, Daniel.